To you, I mean, I guess pretty much the second year in a row with the majority of your freshman class being here that first semester. And pretty much the bulk of them were here again. I mean, I know it's hard to tell on the first day, but those guys being here for pretty much the whole summer, how much does that help them being with Coach Bayless?
You know what, I think a huge part of it is in conditioning. You know what I mean? I don't see them, maybe in a shock out there, because I think the tempo of college for a lot of guys is it's a much faster practice than what they're used to in high school. A lot more things going on. So when you look at that deal, the fact that they've been able to condition with the team for the summer, they're more prepared. Because if they don't come in, you're taking a whole group of guys that have probably worked hard and conditioned all summer and know what to expect. And if you combine them with a group of guys that haven't, it's actually, those guys are in a dangerous position out there, and so it's great to have those guys here.
Well, what y'all are doing differently on offense a little bit with the more passing. At what point, how far do you have to go before the guys you think feel completely comfortable with the new parts of the play?
Well, we didn't add much.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that's already been in. So I think there's a great comfort in it. I think it's just the emphasis on where you go is, you look, like I said, every single year, if you take our 100% of our offense, we use 70% of our offense in each given season, right? And I would say probably 50% never changes. And that last 20% can be kind of fit on each year's team. So it's really that last 20% that has been in the offense before, but is now kind of bigger emphasis than years past.
Is there a different daily plan to implement that 20%? I mean, there's less open practices, which leads us to believe that you're trying to do some new things that you may just want to implement early on this year.
Not really, no. We open practice for the fans, and so that's why we do have open practice. Tomorrow, Saturday's open. Try to pick the days the fans can come to, and open practice for that. Having it on a Saturday is why we did that one. No, to me, it's not like you're changing practice. You just take your installation schedule and maybe stuff that was installed practice 2 last year, installed practice 10 with it much more de-emphasized,
right.
And stuff that was installed practice 10 as kind of a periphery deal becomes practice 2. So it's not like it's a new offense. In fact, I don't think we have a new play.
Is it fair to say that the changes are much more in the sequence in which you call plays or how you look at things from a coaching standpoint?
Well, yeah, because you look at reps. Mathematically, you spend a lot of time preparing for training camp on repetitions, where the ones, I think we have it calculated, have 500 team reps or something in training camp, right around that number against the defense. So you take those 500 reps and then you're going to break them down to what you're going to practice. And so something you're going to emphasize is going to get 80 reps, and something you're going to de-emphasize is going to get 10. Just so they understand the concept. And that's where you're trying to match the numbers. Say, these are things we're going to emphasize more, they're going to get a little bit more repetition.
You talked about in the spring, and Coach Bayless said it in the summer too, and some players did too, about seeing a different Tyler as far as taking command and leadership role. Did you see that starting out today?
Yeah, I see a Tyler that's very comfortable. You know what I mean? I'm not a guy that's out there thinking on the field. I think I see a guy that obviously going to make mistakes, but the great thing when he makes a mistake, he kind of knows the mistake he made, or when you're talking about, he understands what happened. Where some younger guys and how he used to be in the past, sometimes you'll tell them, and they're like, you can see, they're like, well, I didn't get that at all. So, you got to go back and teach it on film. With the experienced guy like Tyler, he sees it.
I know Marcus Green obviously wasn't there in the spring. Found out later he's getting to 6th year because he looked like he's been staying in good shape.
Yeah, because he worked out with the team the second half of the summer. And I think when he found out that was an option, he's prepared, and he's an older guy. I think, especially when you're kind of that older veteran guy, training camp, he knows what to expect. He's been around since his 4th training camp with us. He knows what's going to happen, and that, I think, makes it easier to prepare for.
How do you break up Saturday? How do you plan to break up Saturday in 2 sessions?
Yeah.
Like
newcomers
newcomers.
It's by each position coach has a different reason maybe for putting, I want this guy with this guy, you know what I mean? And I want this group working together. And I think it's very positional oriented. It's not like kind of a flat across the board. And I've talked to coaches and said, well, why do you want, like for example, Greg Knox came to me and he wants Perkins and Josh Robinson together, and Milton and Griffin together, and Aikens is in camp. But that's why one of them, he wants Perkins' influence and Josh, and the other two kind of talk a lot football-wise. So each coach has its own reason why we do it. And a reason we do the split practice is we had an installation today, but the same installation again on Saturday, so it's kind of a review of today's stuff. But, when you get in line and there's 2 running backs instead of 5 running backs, you get a lot more specific teaching to kind of whole it.
Dave Jackson talked a lot about Blaine Clausell adding some weight and all that. How's that, you think, going to help him this year at the left tackle position? Now he's got a little bit of that experience.
Well, I think, obviously the size just to handle the guys in the league that, his body's kind of maturing into being an SEC player. You don't worry about, he always had the athleticism, but it's that maturing, that physical strength and the girth and the size that'll help him out.
Only 2 scholarship quarterbacks, is there any little extra emphasis on getting Golden and Swindle ready just in case they have to be that emergency quarterback?
Yeah, they took reps today, and that's part of it. When you split the practice, I think we have 2 of those days, and they're going to get half the reps at practice, so they'll actually get some opportunities to function on the field, and and then we'll see those guys. We always get a third quarterback's always getting reps. I know he's not getting the reps maybe that 1s and 2s are getting, but what we haven't done is we're not eliminating the third quarterback reps and just giving them to the other 2 guys.
Will we see
Maybe more
guys
unique.
different positions? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Will we see any guys maybe different positions and get some tests like safeties or things like that this on Saturday?
Yeah, I don't like.
Like maybe Broomfield or some of your cornerbacks switching around?
Yeah, Broomfield's playing some safety. Is that one? I don't view who's a different. That's why we have guys going all over the place doing different things. So
You saw along the
view
same,
who's a different.
Kind of a test, test the guys around.
Yeah, but it's still a defensive back, so it's kind of safety and nickel and this and that will move guys around that, even though it's really the same position.
Right.
A little more unique fall in the sense you still have to worry about the amount of contact Tyler and Dak get just because of the depth you have at that position, correct, or no?
Yeah, I'll protect them probably a little. Sometimes I'm pretty. I don't know. I guess if people come, in the spring times, a lot of times I let those guys get hit and beat up every once in a while. And
Seems like more of a numbers game this year.
This year we'll protect them a little
Yeah.
bit more, and even this spring we did. I don't know. Again, I was much more protective of them this spring. Where if you have more of them, I kind of let them have a little bit more freedom and play a little bit more live to get ready to go. But we'll protect them a little bit.
at the end of spring, you talked about Clausell a while ago, you kind of work Clausell some at left and right and sit away, and Damien also looks in left. Is that something that continues in the fall, or are you pretty settled with it?
Yeah, because when you get guys ready, a lot of times you're traveling with travel squads and all that stuff. If you're taking sometimes 8 linemen are getting ready. You have 3 tackles, 3 guards, and 2 centers. So they got to be able to swing back and forth, and a lot of that also depends on depth. If we feel there's 4 tackles ready to go, then you don't have to really swing a guy. But I guess you really do anyway, because you're an injury away from having 3, and someone better be ready to go become the swing guy at that point.
So is that kind of what
That's-
Sidway and Damien's still doing?
Yeah.
Still
Oh yeah.
advised?
Somebody's gonna. Yeah, we'll always have guys kind of playing both, and moving guys at different, and just throw them in there like what happened potentially in the game that they kind of their home position's this position, but they might have to have a secondary.
Do you think changing things as far as, closing down practice and, maybe going to the farm earlier this year, that grabs the guys' attention more? Is there some thought behind that, or is there anything
It's
to
all
it?
schedule based for us. When we look days at the farm of what practice number we want to go to the farm at, how many practices we have out there. it's all based on that way, and you're counting back from the first game of, when you want to scrimmage and all of these things to balance out the reps. So, every year is going to be a little bit different depending on the calendar. With, for example, we can't practice tomorrow, it's final exams are going on. We couldn't wait till after finals exams because there weren't going to be enough days for us to even practice before the first game then. So, you got to kind of, those type of things have effect on it.
Or
If
there's
you were-
disappointment from your staff, because I don't have to tell you, you'd have diehards out there every day if you made them all open.
Oh, for our fans?
For the fan, you'd have diehard fans out there every
Couple,
day.
but we do, we open up spring practice. I know a lot of people don't even open spring practice out there. I think we're probably more open than a lot of teams in the country, so. We open Saturdays practice, so, it's,
It's fewer than normal, so I didn't know if y'all were like trying to close ranks a little bit.
no, we just, sometimes we'll open up 2 or something, or 3. And, when we looked at the calendar, there was a Saturday practice. That made sense for the fans, that, that would be a day they'd come out to see it. There's 2 practices that day, so they can come out, and, if they can't make the morning, then they got a Little League game, they can come at night. That's why we did it.
Long day for y'all.
Yeah, usually on the coaches' evaluations, they're not the biggest fans. As long as there's a break in between, I think 2 years ago or last year, we did them back-to-back. I got a lot of negative reviews from our coaching staff on that.
What, behind Tobias Smith, Ben Beckwith, Justin Mullen, I just kind of evaluate those guys coming out of the spring and then into the fall?
You got Tobias and Gabe, and starters. There's experience there. It is the backups that are going to be the whole part of the line. That's such the main emphasis, is the guys that haven't played. Beckwith hasn't played a lot. Justin Malone hasn't played a lot. Archie Muniz hasn't played a lot. Dylan Holly hasn't played any SEC football, those type of deals. So, when you're looking at those interior type linemen, is we got to get them as many reps as possible to get them ready to go, and then go from there. And one of those things. Don't be surprised early in the season we play guys and say, well, why are you rotating the line in? Much like a lot of times, Dak Prescott's going to play early in the season, and because I have to get reps in case he has to become the guy. I want to make sure. We've kind of broken him in a little bit in games.
Today, Banks and Bumpus were both named to the Horn. I think it gives you 7 guys nominated for major national awards, and 5 are out of your first recruiting class.
Great.
Guys you had to throw in immediately, and here they are, seniors, making those national awards.
That's good. That first class was a good group of guys, in our staff, and it was the great thing is those are guys that came in when we originally came in, and they bought in. They had tremendous faith in what we were doing. I think the recruiting class afterwards got to see a little bit of what was going to happen. Those guys had faith because if you throw in Pernell McPhee and Fletcher Cox, they've had some awards too.
The problem with Banks and the Horning Award is it's based on versatility, so he's going to bother you again to play offense.
Yeah, he'll catch a ball or two. He didn't catch one. Oh, he did catch one in
Spring.
in the spring game. Yeah.
You let him do that.
So he did catch one. A couple injuries away, he might be playing quarterback. He's a pretty good quarterback.
Fingers crossed.